Okay, I'm not gonna make you guys watch the whole intro. It's kind of cheeky, but I'm gonna keep you on your toes. It's Henny Baby here, Henny Baby Crypto. I am back from the dead. I was sick. I am sorry that this video didn't come out day one, but I was literally bedridden. I was messed up, guys. So again, I just not making excuses. I just should have still recorded. I did participate in the protocol, but I just wasn't able to get in front of camera. So if you guys had any questions, I know there's so much content happening in the community. I'm such a small fry in this. There's some guys that are way more experienced than I am that also release content, and I hope they answered all your questions, especially if you had any. If you were looking for any answers before making any decisions. I'm sorry that I wasn't one of those guys, but out of principle, I'm going to make this video because maybe there's a chance that maybe I won't answer a question, but I'll give you a different perspective on the whole thing or explain something else. Who knows? Maybe you'll just come to your own conclusion hearing me blabber on, right? But anyways, let's get right into it. We are recording, so I'm going to hit the present button, share screen. We're going to go on the Hydra website. Oh, that's the white paper. So we've got the Hydra website right over here. app.hydra.win. What the hell is going on, man? If you saw what's happening on Twitter, if you have Mike Dean's premium plan, you will know exactly what I'm talking about. This is absolutely insane, guys. This is one of the most successful Titan X protocols that's not even built directly on Titan X. Insane part. Okay. But if you don't already know, Hydra is essentially a mining protocol built on top of Dragon X, that's built on top of Titan X, which is essentially like a very similar copy to Hyper that's built on Titan X. But there is a couple of key distinctions, right? So one of them being there's no staking. Another one is obviously what it's built on. So one's built on Dragon X, one's built on Titan X. And then the third, last but not least, is the fuel that goes into it. So for Hydra, you need Titan X to participate. For Hyper, you needed Ethereum, which is really good on Hyper. I'm not, again, this video is not going to be here bashing Hyper or anything. I love Hyper. I'm still going to be compounding it. Not financial advice. You do you. But yeah, this is just, it's different, guys. Let me explain. Um, so the first thing is Hydra does not have staking. So why I like this, because Hyper you could play nicely with staking because the ROI is not bad. It's actually really good. But that basically gives 28% of the total inflation to essentially people that could dump it, right? It gives it to people. I don't trust people as much as I trust code. This one has way high, it has no staking pool. All that money that was supposed to go to staking now goes into buying and burning, which is essentially great because it's a non-custodial, non-managerial protocol built. It's a smart contract. There's no emotion behind the decision. It's just run by the community with a simple burn button that you actually get paid to do. Very, very awesome. Okay, that's number one. Number two is what it's built on. This is going to be huge, guys, because um, think about it this way: when Hyper launched, it was before day 280. It was obviously in the inflation distribution rounds. So it launched when Titan X, it was obviously not to the day, it was peak inflation, but that whole 280 days was maximum inflation of Titan X. And that's what another heavily inflationary asset launched on. Again, not bashing, just timing, right? Now, that's a very important thing to hold on to because now we're getting into an inflationary thing that has more inflation going towards the smart contract that makes less emotional decisions, that's now also built and tied into a deflationary asset, an asset that has a supply cap that's burning itself. If you don't already know, Dragon X is basically a compounding. It's a compounding machine built on top of Titan X. It's a protocol that essentially just keeps staking, 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 and buying and burning itself up using those rewards or continuously staking. It's insane. So it's roughly like when you first participated, you put Titan X in. That gave you that initial protocol stake. Then from that stake, just slightly under half of the rewards, because there are builder fees that are activated, which is fine. Builders deserve to get paid. But just under half basically goes towards of that Ethereum goes towards buying Titan X and swapping it out for the Dragon X in the liquidity pool, burning that Dragon X out of existence, ruining the supply. getting that shit out of here. And then the other half essentially goes into buying Titan X up. So it's an extra buy on Titan X and then locking it into a stake to compound more staking rewards. So each end is getting bigger and bigger as time goes on, right? And that's what this guy's fucking built on, guys. It's insane. Okay. So what did I want to say? That's a huge difference because another thing is Dragon X is built on Titan X, but now Titan X is also deflationary. We got past day 280. Supply is going down thanks to stuff like this, right? And obviously no more coming out. So yeah, no, it's a huge timing thing, and there's a couple obviously key distinctions that are massive. But anyways, I'm gonna steal a page out of Chaos Chris's handbook here. I'm gonna open up my own paint. Where is it? Where's my paint? I'm gonna do a little pictogram for you guys so you can follow along. I'm obviously not an artist, but I will do my best. Okay. So I'm just gonna put H, not hyper. I'm gonna put HD. H like Henny Baby. HD for Hydra. This is the protocol, and you're wondering how to participate. Okay. So there's two ways of getting into it, but I'm gonna make this one in red. So the first things first, you could market buy the thing. Again, it's in its heavy inflation days. Market buying is an option, but it is definitely risky. Now, I know in Hyper there was the people that bought the bottom absolutely did insane. So, um, if you're experienced, go for it. But if you're not, like, not financial advice, guys. If you're not experienced, you don't fully know what you're doing, you haven't played around with this stuff yet, don't play it safe. Market buying has its risks, okay? Then there is market mining, if you want to call it that, or just mining. You basically take Titan X. Oh, but this is also a distinction. When you're market buying, it's good to use Dragon X because that's the liquidity pool. And then when you are market mining, if you want to call it that, you use Titan X because that's the fuel that it uses. So that's a little distinction that might change your strategy. I don't know. Anyways, so here we go. We've got mining. How does it work? Just like on my video here. Oh, by the way, this is the wallet I did for the $500 challenge. I did an 88-day miner. If you didn't watch my previous video, I'm doing like a $500 Titan X ecosystem challenge. Just going to see how far I could take it with this. Purely the Titan X ecosystem. So I'm going to link that down below if you guys want to get caught up on that. But just like I did on here, what I was saying is I did an 88-day miner, max length miner. So you could select the length. You could go from 1 to 88, any days in between, and then you could also select the power. So you could go as low as 1 power, which is roughly 160 US dollars, or you could go up to 10,000, which is 1.6 million dollars. And I don't think there's too many players like that. Okay, but anyways, maybe one day. So what you do, you make a miner. You pick 1 to 88 days. And then obviously, if you guys caught on there, when you're doing the lower time frame, you're getting less inflation. When you're doing the larger time frame, you're getting more of the inflation. So if the shorter you go, the less Hydra you will get in return. So essentially, the more you're paying for it. The longer you go, the less you're paying for it because you're getting more tokens, right? So you're essentially getting like a true value cost. If you just like literally sit down, do the math on this chart, you could get the true value cost. Okay. So that's the first thing. So let's say we do an 88-day miner because we want as much Hydra. So now the question is, what happens to this Titan X that goes into this either 88-day or 1-day miner? What happens to it, and how does this all work? Okay. So right off the bat, 20% of it, 20% of this, I'm going to do this part in red because you're going to see why. 20% of this Titan X automatically goes to buying Dragon X. Or sorry, not buying, my bad. That's another side. 20% of it goes right into the Dragon X vault, which is essentially a burn to. But again, if you don't know how the vault works, about half of it gets used to buy up half the rewards get used to buy up Titan X, burn it for Dragon X. The other half gets buys Titan X and then restakes it to get further stakes. So boom, here we have a purchase on Dragon X, and then it burns. So very important here. It burns. Then here in the vault, the other half goes towards buying Titan X. So it adds buy pressure on this, making this harder to get. Very cool. And then that obviously restakes it and goes back into the system. Okay, back into the vault. Now let's talk about the remainder of the Titan X. The remainder of the Titan X essentially goes straight to buying and burning Hydra through buying Dragon X first. Let me explain. Okay, so 10% of all Titan X right off the bat goes into the vortex. And then another key important thing to think about is 18%. Oh my God, that's a really ugly 18. Goes into, of all Dragon X bought with this smart contract, goes into Dragon X, stored into the vault. Sorry, into the, I'm mixing up words. There's so many V's. The vortex. 18% of all Dragon X bot goes into the vortex, and then it gets released as a buy and burn after day 88, day 98 to be exact. Okay, so now let's go over with this remainder of Titan X what exactly happens. Okay, so again, a little chunk goes into that 10% into the vortex, but let's go further down the rabbit hole. So this Titan X, the first thing it does is 20% of it right off the bat goes into buying and burning Dragon X immediately. Okay, so again, we've got a Dragon X burn here because of the vault that's influenced by Hydra, and then we've got another 20% direct buy and burn. So this is actually better in the sense that more is being burnt of Dragon X, purely for Dragon X here, because this again gets split in half and then goes to then the rewards go to buying and burning Dragon X, right? Whereas this is just a straight direct injection into the buy and burn 20% bang. Now, what happens with the other 80%? The other 80%, I'm using a lot of red, I got to swap it up. The other 80%, bang, 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 goes to buy Dragon X. And then this goes through the liquidity pool and gets swapped for a Hydra. And then this Hydra gets burnt. Okay, so we got a lot of burning going on, guys. We've got, well, first off, when you put Titan X in, it's already out of supply. The only thing that Titan X could be used for is this. So for basically 88 days, it's sitting in this. You know what I? Well, not for 88 days, but you get what I'm saying. That Titan X is off the market. A consumer can't use it. This protocol's using it first. Okay. Then what happens is we got a Dragon X burn here off of the vault. Then we've got an immediate 20% Dragon X burn right here. And then we've got a big Hydra burn right here. And then we obviously also have the Vortex. So we got like chunky burns spread out very nicely. Okay. One thing, this looks like a lot, but the fact that it is a lot and so much swapping happens good because another thing is swap fees are getting burnt. Look at this. How many pit stops do we have? So let's say you guys joining the Titan X ecosystem through Hydra. First thing he's going to do, I mean, this would be the logical thing to do, not financial advice. Never is. I'm just a goof. He takes Ethereum, purchases Titan X for it. So we've got a swap, and if that routes through the Titan X's main liquidity pair, boom, we've got a fee burnt. Then this Titan X goes into Dragon X. Well, it goes into Hydra, but then it obviously goes into Dragon X. So that's another swap. Fees are burnt. Then in the vault, there's so many different types. There's so many swaps happening. There's the Titan X being staked. Then you get Ethereum rewards. Ethereum rewards going into Titan X. Half of it goes into Dragon X, and then the other half gets staked, which in return gets more Dragon X later on. So there's plenty of swaps happening there. Fees are getting burnt. Then we go over to the Titan X that gets swapped to Dragon X to burn Hydra, burnt. Then it gets swapped to Dragon X 20% there, burnt. The obviously the vortex itself, all burn, burn, burn whenever it's being used, the swap fees. It's absolutely insane. So that's one very it's obviously complicated, but the more complicated it gets in this situation and how these founders are treating us, the better. Okay. So that's number one. Number two, this visual, this visual kind of blew my mind. I was just thinking about it. And okay, let's get into it. What makes Dragon X cool? Supply cap, buy, and burn, right? And now what Hydra is doing is like, hey, dude, let's be friends. I want some of that. So it's automatically taking on these characteristics, and let me show you why. Okay. So imagine this is a liquidity pair. In this, if you want to visualize it, think of it like a marketplace. You're in like a medieval place before they even had currency. Let's do like trades back in the day. People would trade object for object. That's how liquidity works in crypto. There's no you could tie it into USDC, but consider USDC as like an object, right? But in this situation, the objects that are being traded is Hydra tokens. Let me make these bigger. Hydras and Dragon X's. Okay. For the example's sake, let's call Hydras oranges, and then I wish I made them red, but let's call them green apples, okay? And then Dragon X is green apples. So you will enter this medieval marketplace, and there's all sorts of vendors shouting, 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 but you're focusing on swapping limes for oranges because you've got limes, you want some oranges, or vice versa, right? So right now in this marketplace, there's 4 oranges, 3 limes. So that makes oranges easier to come by, right? And this guy wants limes. So he's willing to give up 4 oranges because they're easier to come by for 3 of your limes. You're willing to give up 3 limes for 4 of his oranges, right? But now let's get into the juicy part. Because again, let's not forget how much burning is actually going on here, guys. Okay. So again, what happens with Dragon X? From outside of this ratio, it appreciates in price because it's a supply capped and the buy and burn keeps working. It's becoming more deflationary and there's a programmed buy pressure. So again, not financial advice. All of this can nuke to zero, but that's essentially how it works. It's just constantly being bought, right? So this is getting more rare. So USD value wise, these are getting higher in price. Okay. And now what's happening is throughout the system, again, let's not forget, we use Titan X. Now let's use a different color. We used Titan X originally to get our limes. So let's say, our green apples. I keep saying limes now, but no, green apples. So let's call Titan X red apples. So to get our green apples in this ratio, we had to route them through the Hydra miner, right? So, um, yeah, so basically these red apples turn into green apples here. So every time a miner gets started, boom, a little bit more Hydra gets deposited, or Dragon X gets deposited into this pool, right? But now remember that this Dragon X gets put in, but then gets swapped out for a Hydra or an orange. So now look what's happening to the ratio. Something that has programmed buy pressure in it is becoming way more less scarce in this marketplace than the supposedly inflationary asset. So these two things being bonded together, it's almost like, again, you got your red apples, you traded them for green apples, and these green apples are swarming into this little tiny marketplace. Anywhere else, they're hard to come by, but in this marketplace, for example, they're very easy to come by, and they get swapped out for oranges, which are way easier to come by than Dragon X, right? So you got Titan X going into Dragon X, which is very hard to come by everywhere else, except for this liquidity pair, because the only thing that you could trade in this marketplace is these oranges or this Hydra. I don't know if that stuck, but that's how I understood it. And it's just like, it's mind blowing, guys, because in this little branch of the Titan X ecosystem, Dragon X is actually not rare. That is massive. Everywhere else is going to be rare, right? Here it's not because it's making Hydra more rare. Because guess what? Again, when it appreciates in price, it could burn more Hydra. Very, very cool, guys. Anyways, none of this is financial advice, as always, but I hope, hopefully, maybe you guys got that new perspective on. I'm just gonna stop presenting for a sec. Yeah, hopefully you got a new perspective. I got pretty fired up there, not gonna lie, but this stuff excites me because this is definitely. Oh yeah, by the way, Broly right over here. This is the new work uniform. You know what I mean? The StreamYard uniform. This is a great way for newcomers to get in exposure to especially Dragon X because again, it, it had its time where you could mint it, no longer there, but now you could get the same similar you could pick up some of its characteristics through this new protocol, if you want to call it that, to your portfolio. Okay. Um, but yeah, no, this is mind blowing. I'm going to be covering this very, very thoroughly. Hopefully, I didn't lose you guys in my cheesy metaphors. I know I like to use those a lot. But again, just think of it like a marketplace where people aren't using money to trade. They're using like products, right? So like guy has oranges, guy has green apples or limes. He wants oranges, he has limes. They swap between, or sorry, they want to swap with each other for these things rather than money. That's how these ratios work. And then this guy prices his things in limes, this guy prices his things in oranges. And guess what? If it's easier to come by oranges than limes, then they automatically become more valuable as long as there's demand. But anyways, peace out, guys. This was my second recording. I'm not gonna lie to you, I tried doing the first one, but it's been a while from being in front of the camera. So peace out, Henny Baby, all love. Cheers.